Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct pleasure to once again welcome you to the 2019 State of the City. Let's hear it for Shasta County and this beautiful river city of Reading. I'm Jake Mangus, the president and CEO of your Reading Chamber of Commerce, and I have to admit that over there, sitting with the distinguished mayor and the city council and my board chair, I felt like I did when I was playing high school basketball and I'm in the locker room and we're getting ready for that big game, and then the national anthem happened, and it's just all lining up and reminding me of the sporting days of my youth. And I'm filled with adrenaline right now because I'm just so excited to be on this stage in front of all of you. You are our VIPs. You are the MVPs of the Chamber of Commerce. You are our beloved business community. You are the gas in our tanks in this community, and we are so proud to represent you. So give yourselves a round of applause. I'd like to thank my board chair, Brad Williams. I'd like to thank the Chamber's board of directors for entrusting me with this responsibility that I do not take lightly. I would also like to thank our volunteer ambassadors who are with us today. If you could raise your hand, ambassadors, wherever you may be. These are volunteers that give of their time to the benefit of the business community. And of course, I have to give the credit where credit is due, and that is with my staff. The staff of the Chamber of Commerce that make us look very, very good and better than I deserve. So thank you to Val and Aaron and Katie. You know, the Chamber continues to grow and evolve to meet the needs of the business community. We are always listening to what you are telling us, the challenges that you are experiencing, and also celebrating your successes. So I want you to know that that's something that's very important to us, that we are always communicating back and forth in meeting the changing needs of business in Reading and Shasta County. I want to pay attention right now, draw attention to those banners that you saw coming in the lobby. The Chamber of Commerce abides by the 3 C's, and I've mentioned that here before. We are a convener of leaders and influencers, a catalyst for business growth, and a champion for a stronger community. In addition to that, we also have a lot of other C's, and you've seen courage and community and change and all of those different things that you saw on the way in. I'd like to thank everyone who participated, and I'd like to thank Sinorama Reading for donating those banners. Thank you so much. So I've got 3 things that I want to share with you today. The first one is the Reading City Identity Project. Then we're going to talk a little economics, and we're going to close with an exciting new partnership that we have. So first, I want to hit on the Reading City Identity Project. This is something that we are very proud of. You know, the Chamber has alongside it the Forward Reading Foundation. I'm also the CEO of that organization, and it's a 501c3 that has its own board of directors. I knew someday we were going to be able to do something fantastic with this 501c3 in good standing, and that thing is the Reading City Identity Project. We've raised more than $500,000 from this community to improve the image and reputation of our city by focusing on 3 key areas: improving messaging, improving aesthetics, and improving experiences. We think that believing in ourselves is where it all starts and what we're projecting to the world. So if we could go to the next slide, you can see some of these partners, and I'd like to mention Visit Reading, the Reading Rancheria, Dignity Health, Sierra Pacific's Foundation, Golden Valley Bank, the McConnell Foundation, Interwest Insurance Services, Hess Property Holdings, and Josh Barker Real Estate. On the next slide, Commerce Home Mortgage, MD Imaging, Black Bear Diner, the Shasta Regional Medical Center, 5 Star Bank, Jesse E-Line Real Estate, as well as D.H. Scott, Minor Family Charitable Fund, and even the Roseville Area Chamber of Commerce, whose board of directors made contributions to help our city following the car fire. Now to the next slide. So we received 2,500 completed surveys from our community telling us what they think we do really well in our city and what they think we can really improve upon. And we also asked for you to submit ideas for consideration of funding. We received 800, even more than 800 ideas, and we knew that when naked bike riding was one of the ideas, we knew that we had reached the masses. But I'm pleased to tell you that it did not make the top 20. So if we could move to the next slide, you can just see there, you could read for yourself some of the ideas that focus on messaging, aesthetics, and experiences. And we'll move to the next slide. You could read those if you'd like. I'm going to focus on just 3 of them due to time today. But we're very excited to tell you that most of these ideas are either fully funded or well on their way to coming to fruition by the end of 2020. So you're going to see these happen. Okay, the next slide. So the Venture Conference. I'm having a hard time seeing the slide, but I can tell you that we invested $5,000 in that inaugural Venture Conference, and that money was put to great use by Startup Reading and the EDC. Talk about a return on investment. $410,000 invested in, I believe, 3 companies, including one that received a $10,000 cash prize. It was important to our board that we helped to, again, catalyze an effort like this that we know now is going to continue on into the future and put Reading on the map in a positive way. Okay, the next slide. This is Umbrella Alley. Who's excited about Umbrella Alley? Okay, I'm hearing some enthusiasm. That's wonderful. We want to thank Golden Valley Bank for stepping forward with a financial contribution to help fund the umbrellas, Sinorama and their participation in installing these umbrellas in the near future, Wonder Metals and their participation in this, as well as the City of Reading for its support. This is in the public right-of-way, and the city is in full support of this Umbrella Alley. And now another one. This is the downtown Reading monument sign. This will be on the corner of Tehama and Market Street. What you're looking at is a rendering that was donated by Ryan Russell Design and all of the other partners that have helped to make this possible, from K2 Development to Sinorama, Wonder Metals, Kibler & Kibler donating structural engineering, and again, the City of Reading right beside us. This is perfect timing because we're working on the streetscapes right now as a community in downtown. And again, that gateway location on Market and Tehama Street, it's inviting us into this new and exciting downtown core, which you're going to hear about a little bit later from Mayor Winter. So that was the Reading City Identity Project, and we'll continue to keep you up to date as that progresses. Now, I'd like to move on to the economic snapshot. At your place setting, you have one of these copies, so you don't have to be able to squint and see those numbers. But this is a very exciting partnership that the Chamber has entered into with Golden Valley Bank. And I'd like to thank Golden Valley Bank for their support of this and thinking of us. So thank you to Mark and the team at Golden Valley Bank. Let's hear it for them. A couple of notes on this is that these numbers are seasonally adjusted, so for those folks looking on OpenGov on the City of Reading's website, they may not be exactly the same because they are presented in a way that allows us to understand them a little bit easier and to recognize trends. What I'd like to point out is that the numbers on the top are comparing us to the previous quarter, which, other than building, look pretty flat, but that's coming, I think, on the heels of the car fire rebuilding process and people who have been up here staying in hotels and so forth. But as a chamber guy, I like to look at the exciting, optimistic side of this. And when you compare our performance to 1 year ago, you can see that we have big time increases, nearly 11% increase in the second quarter of 2019 compared to 2018. And check out building, 223.3% increase year over year. That is a big number. Of course, car fire rebuilding efforts and the expedited permitting process has helped with that, as has all of the immense development occurring at this time. Housing prices up, TOT tax, which is heads and beds, they say, transient occupancy tax, up nearly 33%, and employment, which is at near an all-time high in our community, has remained steady. So the graph is trending in the right direction. If you'll turn that over and take a look at the Business Confidence Survey, you'll see that 50 is a neutral number. We are very confident as a business community. You have let us know that. So having a 60.2 rating tells me that in the next 12 months, you think things are going to either continue to move in the right direction or at least hold steady, which is great for us to hear. In fact, you can see that 92% of you expect that in the next 12 months, top-line sales and profits will either increase or remain the same. Now that said, when you get to employment, you can see that how is the level of employment expected to change in the next 12 months? Most of you say it's going to remain the same. And we think that really follows along with what you told us in the hot topic question in the first economic snapshot that we issued in the first survey, which said that your greatest challenge to continued growth is that workforce access. And so we wanted to dive a little bit deeper and say, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by workforce? Well, according to you, 42% of the employees that you're trying to hire and you're having the greatest challenge are entry-level positions. And as we looked in the other category, we were also able to see that it was lack of skilled employees and things such as that. So, that brings me to the final note. We want to respond to those needs. You told us what's ailing you, and we want to come forward with an antidote. So we've decided to partner with one of the largest higher education and community education entities in Shasta County. And I'm, of course, referring to Shasta College and its Business Training Center. We have chosen to do so to swiftly address your workforce training needs so that you will always have a skilled applicant pool and employees equipped with current industry knowledge and innovative mindsets. I knew when working alongside the talented Angela Cordell, Regional Director of Employer Engagement, Business and Entrepreneurship Sector, Lori Berry, Program Coordinator, Community Education and the Business Training Center, and Eva Jimenez, Vice President of Economic and Workforce Development, all from Shasta College, we have the ingredients of an effective partnership. So as you can see, if we could move forward to the next slide, I am excited to announce the launch of Reading Chamber University as a swift job training pipeline built with business holding the compass. We are relying on you to guide us where we need to go. And you can rest assured that we're going to construct a robust training lineup beginning in 2020. So my final note is the postcards that you see on your place settings, if you would turn those over and please take a moment to put your name, your business name, your email address, and then your top 3 training needs at this time, and leave them on the tables. Our volunteers will come and pick those up, and we will respond with curricula that addresses what we've learned here today. I need to mention as well, we have a special couple here with us today. If I could get Mark Gazigli and Shelley Gazigli to stand. Mark tells us that this is their 25th wedding anniversary, and so we wanted to make sure that we introduce that today. So congratulations, you guys. Guild Mortgage. See, I can adjust, but I want you to know that this doesn't get you out of taking her out to dinner, okay? Okay, final note. So we've heard a lot about downtown parking, and there's this concern that it's going to be Carmageddon or Parque Diem or something like that. We've got to remember that it's because of more than $300 million in development happening in that part of our city. So, as you are walking from point A to point B, it may take you a little bit longer, maybe a couple blocks farther, look around and remember to realize that what you are witnessing is the modern renaissance of our city. And I believe that it's the likes of which we haven't seen since the Industrial Revolution brought the railroad through Reading, or Highway 99 down Market Street. So let's celebrate what's happening in our community and know that we are going to expect great things in Redding, California. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Redding. Julie Winter grew up in Southern California and moved to Redding 30 years ago. She and her husband, Mike, have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. Julie has a BS in genetics from UC Davis, a BS in nursing from Sacramento State, and a master's in nursing from UCLA. She's worked as a nurse practitioner in numerous settings and currently works at Dignity Health Medical Group. Julie is also the published author of Renew. In addition to serving on boards such as the Reading Area PANP Alliance, CDAC, and Advance Reading, Julie is a member of Turtle Bay, Friends of the Library, Reading Rotary, Shasta County Arts Council, Shasta Historical Society, the Women's Fund, and Shasta Living Streets. Mayor Winter is serving in her 3rd year on the Reading City Council. She's committed to job creation and public safety. Her intent on the council has been to create a clear vision around the lifestyle, natural beauty, riverfront, trails, and the creative and talented people who live here in Reading. She works diligently with community leaders to provide needed public safety mechanisms that not only address crime, but also address the underlying mental health, substance abuse, and homelessness issues. And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. It's my privilege to welcome to you to the stage our Mayor, Julie Winter.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. It's amazing. Wow, that's hard to follow. I cannot capture that voice. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for coming. This is an exciting time, and I'm thrilled to be able to share the state of the city with you. The mayor gets to choose the theme for the state of the city, and I chose Renew. And that word has special meaning to me as I wrote a book titled Renew a few years ago. And renew means to begin again, to restore to freshness, to restore to vigor. And I believe we all want that for our city. And we have come out of the year of some incredible challenges with the car fire, with this snowstorm of the century, with issues related to public safety, budget, and other things as well. And so, and I'm going to share some of those challenges. I'll be really honest about that. But you know what? We are not defined, nor are we limited by our challenges. I see a city that appreciates and values its outdoor lifestyle, its trails, its heritage, its art and culture. I see a city that is creative, that is artsy, full of entrepreneurs and investors creating the jobs of the future. I see a city that is safe and a great place to raise families. I see a city that is resilient. As we keep our eyes on the goal of what we want our city to become, the obstacles that we face will be just the things we go over, we go around, we go through to get to the city that we want to have for our children. Let me speak briefly about some of the challenges. I'll talk briefly about the car fire. We lost 266 homes in the car fire, and we removed 500,000 tons of debris, just a massive amount of debris from the city. We've just hit the 50% mark of those 266 homes. 133 plans have been submitted. That is amazing. We're at that 50% mark. I think it's 104 plans have been approved, and about 15 people are already back in their homes, and so that is good news indeed. We also lost some city infrastructure there, and we have received about $500,000 from FEMA with several $1 million outstanding. That is not unusual for FEMA. They're a bit on the slow side, and we are confident that we will receive full approval from FEMA. Many thanks to our parks and engineering staff who came up with some solutions for the loss of those bridges on the river trail. They put in some temporary bridge decks, and that allowed the lower ribbon bridge loop to be opened up. So I'm really grateful for that. If the fire wasn't enough, we were hit with snowmageddon or snowpocalypse, and I've heard other ways to term that. It definitely was the snowstorm of the century. The city suffered quite a bit of damage with loss of power lines. Many of you in the room today were probably without power for some time. We also lost a lot of trees. It's estimated that 1 in 4, or 25% of the trees within the city were either damaged or destroyed. So many thanks to all of our city staff who worked tirelessly 24/7 around the clock for days on end to restore power and to remove those trees. As we look to the future, wildfire preparedness is a big issue, and I'm proud to stand here today to tell you that this has been a priority for the council, and what we have done is worked with REU and our fire department, as well as Public Works and Parks, to create a wildfire preparedness and prevention plan, response plan. And this plan has allowed us to hire 6 firefighters, 12 apprentice firefighters, and a deputy fire marshal, all much needed staff that has been added to Reading Fire Department. These crews have been hired in our training, and they'll be starting projects fairly soon. You'll probably start to see some projects on the west side of town. Henderson Open Space will be a key area of focus. On a fun note, the City Council approved allowing goats in the city for fuel management. So we will have, and there's a goat project that's coming up. Stay tuned. Yeah, I know, I knew that would get some applause. So the goats will be on the west side of town. I think we have a fire crew, human crew over there too, so perhaps we'll have some friendly competition to see who gets done first. Stay posted on social media. The community was also awarded, we were 1 in 4 cities in the United States that was awarded the Community Planning Assistance for Wildfire program. CPAW is the other name. CPAW has been out to our city twice. This is some professionals that have come out to help us with land use planning and policies. They will be coming back one final time at the end of the year to make recommendations for us on policies for our city to help prevent fire in the future. Public safety remains a top priority to you in the community and also for us on the council. So I wanted to give you an update on some of the steps we've taken to address some of the public safety issues. First of all, I would like to give credit to our city attorney. I don't know if he's here, Mr. Barry DeWalt, but he brought to us right after the infamous decision of the Ninth Circuit Court in Boise, Idaho. He brought forward our ordinances so we could update our ordinances and strengthen them related to illegal camping, trespassing, and fires on public property. We also amended some of our ordinances and strengthened our ordinances related to short-term rentals to maintain integrity of our neighborhoods. But one of the things I'm most excited about is the city did a deep dive. We held 5 public workshops doing a deep dive into all of our general fund departments, looking for monies that we could use to hire staff for public safety. And in that process, earlier in the year, we identified funding to hire 4 additional community service officers. And the city council decided that this would be the most efficient use of the money. We had, before the recession, we had approximately 15 CSOs on staff, and we had lost most of those. I think we were down to 3 during the lowest point in the recession. And so we felt this was an efficient way to be able to help our sworn officers. So we identified 4 officers. Those officers have been hired, and some of them are actually working today. They've been trained and are working today. We are hearing it's making quite a difference. In addition to those 4 CSOs, at the most recent council meeting, we hired 1.5 additional staff for code enforcement, and we found some funding through savings and additional revenues to hire 3 additional CSOs. So this year, we have added 7 CSOs to our police department, and we've also increased staffing to code enforcement, not to mention the 19 extra staff for the fire department. So this has been quite a year. If you didn't know this, RPD receives about 100,000 calls of service per year. If you break that down by the minute, that's 1 call for service every 5 minutes. 24/7, 365 days a year, 1 call every 5 minutes. We have 7 officers on any one shift covering 64 square miles. So you can imagine what it would be like to be one of those officers on a shift, and those calls are coming in every 5 minutes. So being able to add more CSOs has really helped the team, and we're hearing reports that it's allowing our sworn officers to be more proactive and go out and catch criminals before they actually commit the crime. I have some good news to share on crime stats. If that slide is up, excellent. This slide here shows our year-over-year crime stats on categories of both violent crime and property crime. 2018 is the lowest on the lowest line there, and you can see that our violent crime and property crimes are down a bit this year compared to where they were in previous years. You can also see the number of officers that we've had throughout the years and what happened with our officers during the Great Recession. If you were to look at 2019, you would see that our number of CSOs is now, I think it's 11. So it's a little bit different. Also, our crime trends in 2019 are continuing with this trend of dropping. Our crime rates this year are about 9% lower than they were in 2018 at this point. So that's definitely some good news. Like the rest of the state, we face challenges. We have a growing homeless and transient population. In places in downtown, areas like Henderson Open Space and other areas throughout the town as well. It's estimated that 1 in 4 homeless people, if you didn't know this, lives in California in the United States. So it's not just our area, our entire state is plagued with this problem. And we know that this population is often difficult. They have mental health issues. They are plagued with substance abuse and criminal backgrounds. And so this is a very difficult nut to crack, and is really kind of beyond the scope of local government to be able to solve this issue. But I tell you, we are working closely with nonprofits and with the county wherever we can lend assistance. The city did approve sending some money over to the county to help fund a community prosecutor for our county DA, and that's definitely a good thing. We also distributed over $100,000 in federal grant monies to nonprofits who work with this population. So we are meeting with groups, and we are doing what we can to address this issue. We do need more sworn officers, but we need more mental health treatment. We need medically assisted substance abuse treatment, and we also need more jail space. And I think as we can address some of those issues, you'll see our crime stats drop further. I want to take a moment to extend my heartfelt thanks to retiring Chief Roger Moore. Roger, are you in the? Roger's in the room right here. Chief, you are the leader that we have needed for the last 2 years, and RPD has prospered under your leadership, and we are sorry to see you go, but we wish you the best in this next chapter of your life. And I'm proud to announce and welcome Chief Bill Schuler, who will be our chief starting next month. And Bill, are you here, Chief Schuler? Where is he at? There he is, right here, yeah. Chief Schuler, you have some big shoes to fill, for sure, but I am confident that you too are the right leader for the next season, and your expertise in technology will help improve efficiency, I believe, for RPD. So I am excited to work with you. One of the massive challenges that we've faced over the last couple of years has been in our budget. And this challenge goes right along with some of our public safety issues because of funding. And so over the last couple of years, we have been facing a $30 million deficit in our 10-year budget plan. And of all things that kept me up at night, this was one of them. Is you want to make sure when you're elected to office that you're leaving your city government or your county government in good financial shape. And so we tasked our city manager to work on that issue, and I am so pleased to be able to tell you that we solved that $30 million gap this year. And that's a big deal. So yeah, thank you. As you know, a lot of that was driven by pension obligations, and through some restructuring at the top levels in city leadership, as also working with our labor partners who agreed to some long-term contracts with fairly skimpy raises, increased contributions for healthcare and retirement. We have eliminated that budget gap, and that's a big deal. Besides addressing our budget deficit and finding money to hire more officers, one of our goals this year was to increase our reserve fund and to fund capital repairs. As you saw from the crime stat slide, we have been just kind of in a holding pattern for over 10 years, just trying to stay alive, basically. And so because of that, we have deferred maintenance in the city. We have deferred it over and over again until, finally the chickens come home to roost. You've got to fix the roof. You have to provide radios to the police officers whose radios no longer have service contracts. So those are things that you just absolutely have to do. So that was one of our goals this year. I know it's not sexy, but we have to be able to make sure that we can take care of our city infrastructure. And so I am so pleased to say that we did that. We approved increasing our reserve, setting aside money not only to fund officers, but capital repairs. And this is a tremendous accomplishment which has put our city on a sustainable path for the future. So besides being renewed in our budget, city budget, the city itself is doing amazing, incredible economic revitalization, which Jake Mangus touched upon. There's a lot of development going on in downtown. We have the McConnell Foundation and K2, as well as others that have invested over $40 million in grants in the massive downtown project, which is incredible. As Market, Butte, and Yuba Streets are opened up and increased amenities are added for bikers and walkers, you are going to see a very renewed downtown. It's going to be completely transformed. All of this is creating some parking headaches for people. We just want you to know we do have a parking strategy. You can find out more information on that on the City Hub site. But besides the core in downtown, lots of other areas in downtown are being renewed as well. Over $1.5 million was invested into the Americana Modern. I don't know if you've seen that motel, but the rooms are amazing. I spoke with the owners recently, and they are really pleased with their occupancy rates and the reviews on Yelp, and so they are going to be rehabbing the third and final unit there. So that is good news for our downtown. Other new businesses downtown include Roots Juice Bar and Cedar Crest Brewery. We also have a new building going up on the corner of Placer and Pine. It's a mixed-use building that's being built by Mr. Brant Weaver. It will have, I think it's a restaurant on the lower level with housing above, and so that's a big deal as well. There's another building that's being rehabbed. A couple of people, some investors are refurbishing the building that used to be the Salvation Army thrift store up a couple of blocks on Pine Street and Butte, I think it is. Yuba, and that's exciting as well. You're kind of starting to see some of the old brick come through, and that building is looking great. Bethel Music will be leasing that building, and they have like 70 some employees. So those are a bunch of young millennials that'll be down in our downtown using downtown services. So that's going to bring a lot of life downtown as well. It's not just downtown though that's being revitalized. There's a new Holiday Inn Express that's opened up on Hilltop this year. Plans have been submitted for the old Kmart shopping center. It will be renamed Cascade Station, so some development will be happening there. We have a lot of development at the Mount Shasta Mall, and so that's exciting. You can see the people working there. I just drove by there the other day, and Sprouts grocery store will be going in there, as well as a Home Goods for all you ladies. I love Home Goods. And I am pleased to say that it is official. We are getting a Chick-fil-A. Yeah, so I know, of all the excitement, Chick-fil-A. Everybody loves Chick-fil-A. It's pretty fun. Then on the south end of town, if you live on the south end of town, you're getting some increased services down there. With the Churn Creek Marketplace, we have the Save Mart grocery store going in there, Panda Express, In-N-Out, and I think it's a Les Schwab tire store as well. Costco remains committed to building on the west side of I-5. I expect that they will be bringing their EIR back to the Planning Commission later this year. All in all, our building and planning department is hopping. I don't even know if they're here today. They are so busy. They're having to outsource a lot of their work, and we are averaging 60 inspections a day. And it's not just car fire rebuilds, it's all over the place, all kinds of commercial development, subdivisions, homes being built, just lots of stuff happening. It's an incredible time that I haven't seen in over a decade, if not two, in our community. Let me share some good news on city revenue. Our TOT tax is up this year, $6.8 million. That's up a whopping 33% compared to last year. I expect that is probably reflective of the car fire, people coming and helping out with the car fire. But we'll see if that holds into this next year. Also, sales tax is up 6% this year at $25 million. Property tax also up 4% at $20 million. And in the first 3 months of this year, the cannabis tax brought in $81,000 just in the first quarter this year. So all in all, good news on all fronts for city revenue. So let me tell you where that money is going. The council set priorities on all extra funding to go to public safety, increasing our reserve fund to 10% for best financial practices, and for capital repairs. So with all of this extra savings and funding, we have increased staffing in code enforcement. We hired those 7 CSOs. We hired 19 additional staff for the fire department. We've rebuilt our reserve fund to at least 10%, and we have set aside funding for capital repairs. So if you stop for a moment and think about where we were a year ago, 2 months out from the car fire, can you believe it? That we could be here today, having accomplished so much, to be in this position economically, to have a balanced budget, to have more staff for public safety, to have a booming construction industry. It's incredible, and I give thanks to God for that. Let me just give you a brief update on a couple of city projects. Much of this focus this year has been on restoration of trails after the fire. In fact, the community creek cleanup, which will be this October 5th on the north side of the river trail at the end of Harlan Drive, will be focused on replanting. So if you want to come out and help out on that, that would be great. Our community service department has also applied for a large grant for Caldwell Park to increase amenities at Caldwell Park. The junior bike park down there has been extremely successful, and we would like to see an adult bike park built there. We'll see if we get that grant, but that would be awesome. Henderson Open Space is also in sight for a massive area, not only cleanup, but addition of trails. We were awarded a grant for a major project down at Henderson Open Space. And so we are looking at this area. It has been a problem area for many years, and so there's kind of a multi-pronged approach that we'll be dealing with this with the Henderson Open Space. Dignity Health has plans to develop the north end of that property, but the Community Service Department also received a large grant to clear out underbrush and put in trails. And also there's going to be a side channel that will be cut in the river there, and gravel will be laid down to increase spawning for salmon. We have done that in a couple of other areas in the river, and it's been quite successful. So that is definitely good for our fishing industry. That will create an island, and the city will be putting in a couple of bridges so that you can access that island with a loop trail. And we're hoping that we will get the same benefit that we did with Turtle Bay East. That also was a problem area with a lot of illegal camping and transit activity. And once we developed that, a lot of that activity shifted out of the area. So that's one part of the approach. The other focus for Henderson Open Space will be our wildfire mitigation team. They will be going down there soon, clearing out a lot of brush and tree canopy, which reduces the fire risk, but also removes a lot of the area where the hiding places where illegals tend to camp. And then sweeps will be going in to clear out the trash and the illegal camp. So that's just some of the stuff that's happening there. This is good news for all of us. Another area that's on the rise is arts and culture. As Jake has shared about the City Identity Project, you can see a lot of those projects that were presented were related to our arts and culture. We're really interested in that as a community. This past year, we celebrated the Whole Earth and Watershed Festival, the powwow, the Juneteenth celebration, Reading Remembers, and the Public Safety Fair. Just to name off a few, there are many other community events as well. We appreciate our diversity. We have partnered with the Shasta County Arts Council to bring art into public places. And we also celebrate the fact that Reading was listed 1 in 14 cities in the state of California designated as a cultural center, or cultural district. And we are still working on things that we can do to magnify that. And we are certainly being marketed outside the area as a cultural district, so that's great. Besides the fantastic music, theater, and dance brought to us by the Cascade, the Civic, and the Riverfront Playhouse, which is also moving to downtown. We also have the Reading Fashion Alliance, California Street Labs, and now the Makery, not to mention all of the arts and music programs that are in many of our local schools. I'm thrilled to see so much creativity and culture happening here, kind of what makes us unique. I'm going to make a transition here. Besides our arts and culture, one of the other things that makes us unique is our history. And we're going to kind of go into a little bit of a solemn time, but I believe a really important time. I want to take just a few minutes before we close to hopefully bring some healing to a painful part of our local history that I believe will help move all of us forward as a community. The Reading area was settled thousands of years ago by the Wintu people, who were made up of 9 distinct bands. And today, I am honored to invite up on stage with me Reading Rancheria Tribal Chairman, Mr. Jack Potter. Come on up. And thank you, Jack. And also, we have with us today the Wintu Tribe of Northern California Tribal Chairman, Mr. Gary Rickard. Would you come on out, Gary? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And also with us today, special guest, the Wintu tribal chieftain and spiritual leader, Ms. Kayleen Sisk. Thank you. That's fine. Welcome. And so I invited them to be up here as we go into this next piece. I also want to invite you to stand. If you are of Wintu descent from any of the tribes of the Wintu, would you just please stand? We want to acknowledge you today. If we have some of you in the room, thank you. Thank you. Several years ago, while I was in the Leadership Reading program, I learned about some of this very tragic history that happened to our brothers and sisters, our Wintu brothers and sisters. And I promised myself that if I ever had the opportunity to help bring healing to some of these wounds, I would do so. And I believe that today is that day. In general, I'm a person, probably like many of you in the room today, that thinks toward the future. I don't think about the past a whole lot. But we are affected by the past, and it's important to remember our past. That way we learn from our past. And what happened to the Wintu people, when we think about it in light of today's society, is actually incomprehensible, what happened here in the land here. The very government that was supposed to protect vulnerable people actually sanctioned their slaughter. Unfortunately, this was a common story in the history of our nation, but our own governor, our own California governor, paid $5 bounty for each Native American head. Our Wintu brothers and sisters could be shot on sight. They refer to this today, because they learned these stories. This didn't happen all that long ago. They learned these stories from their grandparents and great-grandparents. They refer to this as the killing times. Land was taken, treaties were broken, people were forced to move from their villages and homes. Many were raped and placed into indentured servitude or slavery, and children were forced off into boarding schools with the express purpose of erasing language and culture. As we sit here today, it's hard to understand the magnitude of what happened. Only 3% of the Wintu people of that time survived the onslaught. In spite of that, they have kept their customs and their culture, and I honor you today for that, for holding fast. I honor them for their resilience. Like many of you, I moved to Redding as an adult. Redding is my adopted home. Neither I nor my ancestors were involved in what happened here in the past. But you know what? We live with the effects of the past. We all live with the effects of the past, and that is because the shedding of innocent blood contaminates the land. And I want us to be the generation that redeems the land, that brings healing to some of these grave wounds. And that is something that will take time to do, but I believe that today is a beginning for that. We can do that by learning about the past, by acknowledging what happened here, by honoring the history and culture of our Wintu brothers and sisters. So today, as the mayor of Redding, and I would ask if you are of Wintu descent, would you please stand again? Because this is for you. I'm going to do something today that I do not believe has been done by any past local elected leaders. And I would ask the rest of you in the room to join me. To the descendants of the 9 Wintu bands standing here today, with sincere humility and genuine sorrow, I apologize for the grave injustices that were perpetrated on your families. I am grieved that you were not protected by your local government and that your people have suffered to this day. I freely acknowledge that there is nothing I can do or say to take away the past, but I can promise you this. I promise you that I will commit myself to educating our community about your stories, your heritage, your history, your arts and culture. I know that you face challenges. The Wintu tribe of Northern California, the Winnemem Wintu, are not federally recognized, and that you face the loss of further sacred sites if Shasta Dam is raised. And though we may not all agree on the expansion of the Redding casino project, that does not take away the issue that's before us today. I see opportunities ahead where we can tell your story, where we can celebrate our local Wintu arts and culture. And I will look for active engagement and input from our Wintu citizens on issues that affect us all. And as it says in your video, I agree with you. This is a land of plenty. I thank you for caring for the land for the thousands of years that your ancestors have lived here. And my prayer is that we will commit ourselves to partner with you to create a prosperous future for our children, for everyone who calls Reading home. And my prayer is that we will follow your lead in protecting and stewarding the land well. I would now like to invite Chief Sisk to come up and speak a native prayer over us as we look to create a future together. Chief Sisk?
I'd like to offer you this for your bravery and bringing this to the forefront.
Thank you. I'm honored.
I'm going to have my son open this part with a song that hopefully makes you feel better. Does this work?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
Lindo ni min so li min kene nani. 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 Lindo ni min so li min kene nani.
I just want to say a short thing before I do my closing here, because the Winnemem Wintu and a lot of people, a lot of indigenous people, a lot of people in California are waking up to bringing the salmon home. And we're on a run from the Bay Area, from Segorte, which some of you call Glen Cove in Vallejo, and we're all the way up here to Cow Creek at the Hawes Ranch at this point in time, and we'll be heading out to the McCloud River, and it's all about the salmon. We're a salmon state. This used to have lots of salmon in that river that runs through this city. It runs past here. And the salmon are the future. They're the past, they're the present. They are the ones who are connected to Creator. They tell us how healthy our water systems are, from the ocean to the high mountain streams. And without them, we really don't stand a chance in my religion, in the Wintu way of thinking. Also, I'd like to thank Julie Winters for the opening here for us. It's the first time. This is the very first time that any mayor of this town has ever really acknowledged the local indigenous people here. And it's been a long, long time of watching things develop and, prosper, while there are so many things that are unknown to you folks about us and about our situation. And when you compare all Indians to what the Redding Rancheria is doing, that's as wrong as saying you all prosper like McConnell, right? So don't do that to us. You know, we're fortunate that the Redding Rancheria has been able to move forward in a lot of different things. However, Gary and the Wintu tribe and the Winnemem and the Norelma Wintu people have not, because of policies of this government. And so with that, I also want to point out that we struggle, like this red cloth on this podium here. It's about the missing and murdered women. We are 10 times as likely to be missing and murdered as anybody else in the country, and including in Canada. So we carry that too, because, you know, these places were developed on man camps, right? And so there are a lot of struggles that you have no idea about. And so I just want to put down that offer for this healing to also include truth, healing, and justice, so that we have a chance to enjoy the life that you all have, because this is the only place in the world that Winnemem Wintu people can be who they are, who they were meant to be. Without our sacred places, we're not the Winnemem, we're not the Wintu. And so it's very important, you know. We thank Hawes Ranch for allowing us access to the confluence of Cow Creek and the Sacramento River, because that's a prayer place. You know, the Yana people aren't here anymore, but still we're making those prayers known for the salmon. And I brought down this water from Mount Shasta, our spring. It's a place of our origin that we say that the Wintu people came from. And so with that, I'm just going to say a short prayer here. Olalbas, chaliwita, ukuan ilawi, chalama pudum, hoana chala bim, puipam, norpam, lapam, namtipam, ukuan chedeki, hamaleokas, he chala, elti wintu, Chalama Purum, Hoana Chalat, Sawamem, Lindara Nur, Uko Flut, Sawamem, Hoana Chalapium, Wintu Tina Sing Ting, He Chala. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored. We'll be in conversation for sure. Okay. Thank you, Chief Sisk and all the tribal leaders. I'm going to close with this. Redding, you are a land of plenty, blessed with rivers, lakes, forests, and natural beauty. You are a people with deep courage, generosity, and resilience. You are a creative people with hope and faith, determined to make a bright future for the next generation. You are a community of entrepreneurs and investors in the future. No obstacle will stop you, no difficulty will deter you. And I hope all of you will join me in making a renewed Redding. Thank you.
Okay, I've got to do it. One more round of applause for Mayor Winter and for the Indigenous folks with us today, our Native American brothers and sisters. In closing, I just want to, again, impart upon you that when we entrust business your direction and refer business to our trusted members of the Chamber of Commerce, we know that they are in good hands, and know that you can also trust in us to take care of the needs that you have as life goes on in business, in our community of business. We definitely have nothing but care for everything that you do for our community. So on behalf of all of us at the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Reading, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this year's State of the City. Make it a great rest of the day and end of your year.